President Trump promised to bring down prices. You voted for him 3 times. Are you disappointed?
Very disappointed. Very disappointed.
Why?
Because the prices haven't gone down. I don't know. I'm over it, I think. Over the Trump thing. The Trump wagon, whatever you want to call it.
You could talk directly to the president about the war, about the prices, about the economy. What would you tell him?
Stop the bullshit. Make America great, like you said. That's what I'd say.
Well, that was one Trump voter in Iowa speaking with MS Now's Alex Tabbitt. To that point, a new poll by Strength in Numbers and Verisight shows President Trump is underwater on every major issue heading into the midterms, even on border security. That was one of his strongest issues in the past. The poll finds Trump's net approval now at -5, and yet President Trump has come up with a simple plan to win the midterm elections. More Trump. That's according to new reporting from The Atlantic. The outlet reports the president gathered top political advisors in the Oval Office this month to discuss how to spend his super PAC's $400 million ahead of the midterms before landing on the strategy of focusing on himself, ordering a series of television advertisements about his own record that will serve as a backdrop to the hundreds of individual House and Senate contests. People familiar with the discussions tell The Atlantic an ad blitz is set to be rolled out soon from MAGA Inc. Joining us now, MS Now senior White House reporter Vaughn Hilliard, along with MS Now contributor Mike Barnicle, and presidential historian and Pulitzer Prize-winning author Jon Meacham. Vaughn, I'll just start with your reporting as you follow this out in the field. The president seems to think that he can focus on himself. Let's not underestimate that because they've got a lot of money to spend.
And the hubris of the president of the United States leads one to believe that he may actually believe that to be true, saying that if Republicans lose Senate and House races in November, it's not because of him, but it's because the country doesn't like the Republicans in Congress. This is the part of sort of the isolation of the president inside of the White House right now, and the extent to which he is hearing voices like that directly from Alex Tabbitt. And if you're looking at the coffers and the extent to which the president actually wants to help out Republicans down ballot, it's questionable. And while they are planning this ad blitz, we reported 1 month ago, literally today, that $400 million coffer that MAGA Inc. has at Donald Trump's disposal, his own super PAC, they have spent less than $1 million. And where did that money go? It went to Darlene Graham, an intra-party Republican battle. And so when you're looking at the promises, you know, we've been talking repeatedly to folks that are working across the Republican apparatus trying to help these candidates. And the big question is, where is he going to spend the money? And now there's some details here from The Atlantic that he intends to spend it promoting himself. And as he himself posted on Truth Social yesterday, in part, GOP's only path in November, defend Trump. Donald Trump believes that to a certain extent, and now he's directing the allies that have the access to that cash to go and spend it that way.
So, Jon Meacham, I mean, we see candidates in Senate races, close Senate races across the country. Think James Talarico, for example, in Texas, just hanging Donald Trump around the neck of their opponent. Ken Paxton has supported everything Donald Trump's ever done, and you see that in races all over the place. Democrats are happy to have Donald Trump at front and center of this conversation over these midterm elections. Donald Trump, of course, does not have the kind of personality that would lend itself to stepping away and saying, you guys are right, I shouldn't be around. He can't help himself. The question is, does it cost, perhaps, Republicans the Senate this fall?
I think one caveat we should state up front is almost everything we've predicted about Donald Trump since 2015 has proven to be wrong. There are a lot of folks who at various points have declared the phenomenon to be running out of gas. It's over. He's gone too far. And here he is. As he himself said in the most honest thing from the inaugural address in the rotunda on that cold January day, can you believe this? You know, which is sort of not a bad way to capture the era. we are such a closely divided country. These are de minimis margins that shift these elections, that we are once again going to be, I think, in more of a turnout battle. I would argue, and again, take it for what it's worth, this notion of this vast Democratic landslide coming feels to me to be premature, to say the least, if only because we don't live in an era of landslides when you step back from the country itself. These are incredibly close races in districts that are, in fact, competitive. A state like Texas is going to be, for a Democrat to win there would be a remarkable thing. And President Trump, let's just be honest, has a remarkable capacity for political resurrection. Now, can he transfer that? That's the question you're asking. Don't know. But if you're Donald Trump and you've gotten this far by being about Donald Trump, what in your life experience would suggest to you that you do something else?